Assalamualaikum and a good day to everyone. Today we are from Group 14. We'll be presenting the topic Al-Moravids. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Farah Hanani and here are my group mates. Nur Sahrina, Nurin Syazwani, Nur Aina Suraya and Syarmimi Aqila. I will pass the introduction of the topic to Sahrina.
Thank you, Farah. Moving on to the introduction, I am Sahrina. Al-Moravids or Al-Morabitun was an Islamic Berber dynasty which was established in Morocco. The dynasty took over a wide region of Northwest Africa states. Their aim was to spread the Islamic tradition throughout Northern Africa and to save Al-Andalus downfall from the hand of Christianity era. The force was first initiated by Yahya ibn Ibrahim in 1062. They conquered Morocco, Mauritania and the Western Sahara, then established Marrakech city as their new capital. However, the dynasty began to decline after its peak during Ibn Tashifin region, then came to an end in 1147, last led by Yahya ibn Umar. Who is Al-Moravids? They are the Black Berber tribal community emerged from Western Sahara in 1050 to improve their control over political and religious matters. They fully conquered Al-Andalus in 1110, which is then aimed to separate the Islamic tradition throughout northern Africa of Al-Andalus. Within 25 years, they had conquered the Morocco and reached the share of the Mediterranean. The next one is the timeline of Al-Moravids in Maghreb. They began the spread with religious way back in 1053, which covered the Berber Sahara and the religious regions of the southern desert areas and later to control of the entire desert trade route. They began to invade Morocco after consolidating their control over Sijil Masah in 1056. After Ibn Yasin was killed in 1059, the leadership of the era were passed down to the chief of the Lanatunah tribe, Abu Bakr ibn Umar, who fought against rebels that challenged his authority.
Thanks, Sarina. For the next part, I will explain about Almoravids in Andalus. There was a great battle, which is called the Battle of Zalaka, or known as the Battle of Sagrachas. So at this time, the influence of the Almoravids to Andalus started in the time of Mutamid, which is the last leader of Banu Abbas at Seville, and then came to the fall of Toledo at 1085 to Christian Alfonso. Arab called the battleground Azalaka, which means the slippery ground, because the great quantity of blood spilled made the floating dodgy for the fighter. And the next part is the fall of Almoravids in Andalus. It started at the time of Ali ibn Yusuf, which is after Ibn Tashfin. At this time, Christian managed to expand its power to the South Andalus. King Aragon and King Castle success to take over half of Moravidan territory. This is because they are faced internal problem, which is rebellions among the leader, and they become weak and replaced with Al-Muwahidin. Okay, next I will introduce the leaders of Almoravids. The first leader was Abdullah ibn Yasin. He was founder of Almoravidim, and he was the theologist and the first leader of Almoravids. He was proposed to ideologists to explain the name of Almoravidim, which means the image of the rebates. Next, the leader of Almoravids, which Yusuf ibn Tashfin. He was the leader of the Reformer movement in 1060, a few after the conquest of Morocco in 1056. Later, he expanded his territorial base across the Maghreb and built Marrakech as its capital. and he proposed fairly tax payment according to Islamic texts. And for the next part, I will continue with the art and architecture of Al-Moravids. So the art and architecture of Al-Moravid was mostly influenced by Spanish Muslim. They are majority at the Marrakesh and Fez, Morocco, which is now as Algeria. Among architecture that left during Almoravids periods that have huge influence of Moroccan architecture is Almoravids Kuba. Later on, Farah will explain more about this Kuba. Moreover, Almoravid art also bring a huge influence of Moroccan architecture, tradition of Muslim West, such as motif or also arch. If you guys can see, there are many motifs in Almoravids building of architecture. Example of architecture that survive until today is Almoravids Kuba, Imam of Qutubiyya Mosque, Al-Qarawin Mosque, and many more. These are some important architecture example of Almoravids dynasty.
The first example is the famous Almoravids Kuba, the only remaining example of Almoravids architecture in Marrakesh. Built in 1117, the dome was once used for the purpose of ablutions, toilets, showers, and taps for drinking water. Focusing on the Kuba was decorated with calligraphy and floral patterns such as palm trees, pine cones, and acanthus leaves. The dome is on top of a rectangular basin. The epigraphic decoration, which covers the frames and borders, is the oldest foundation inscription in cursive Maghrebi script in North Africa. Materials used are marble and cedar wood. The inscription was located at the entrance and at the top of the prayer room. It refers to Abdullah bin Yassin, the founder of the Almoravid dynasty, and gives homage to the patron of the building, Ali ibn Yusuf. The next architectural examples of Almoravid's era is Sijil Masa, a medieval trade center in the western Maghreb. Sijil Masa was located at an oasis town southwest of Fez on the northern edge of the Sahara. It was established by the Sufis in 757. Up until the 11th century, it was, as the exit point for the Western Trans-Sahara Route, one of the most important trade centers in the Maghreb. The center was under conflict for years until the last revolt in 1055, where the Almoravids were defeated and their leader's successor, Abu Bakr ibn Umar, laid waste to Sijil Masa, making the trade center never recovered its own status anymore. The last example is Al-Qarawiyyin Mosque. The mosque, located in Fez, Morocco. Al-Qarawiyyin Mosque is also known as Al-Qarawiyyin University. It is one of the largest mosques in Africa, plus it's one of the oldest universities in the world. A princess named Fatima al-Fihri was the founder of the institution. Her role in the founding of early education system shows a big example of women's roles in those times. In the later times, the mosque was regarded as major intellectual center in Mediterranean.
Thank you, Farah. Now I will continue with the culture of Al-Moravid, which is how they dress. For men in Al-Moravid, they wore a face muffler called as litam. Litam comes from Arabic terms and it was a symbol of delegation and power. It is also served as protection against violence to make the other people did not recognize them when they wear the litam. Litam also protect their face from the dust since they live in the desert. Another name for litam is tiger mask. It normally comes in indigo dyed cotton garment and also come in both veil and turban. The next part is regarding literature. There is the muwashah, which is the poetry that being delivered with the music. Plus, in literature, there are two well-known writers in Al-Moravid period, which is Ayad bin Musa, who was the famous scholar of Maliki and the writer of the famous book of Al-Shifa, while Ibn Bajjah was known as Evampes in Latin. He was Al-Andalus polymath. His works were included in medical, astronomy, music, physics, and many more. During Al-Moravid dynasty, Moroccan literature was flourished and well known. It happened due to political relation and unification between Morocco and Andalus, and it relates with the interchange of the culture between the two continents. For the economy in Al-Moravid, there is the thriving trade in northwestern Africa. They use Sahara Desert trade routes to get goods from other countries, known as Trans-Sahara routes. Dinar also being produced and minted in Almoravid period, and coin production were greatly increased during Ali ibn Yusuf ruling. Almoravid also doing export and import from to other places such as North Africa, China, France, Egypt, and other countries.
Next, the differences of Almoravids and Almohads. First, Almoravids was founded by Abdullah bin Yasin. However, Almohads founded by Muhammad ibn Tumar. It was known as Al-Mutabitin for Almoravids and known as Al-Muwahidin for Almohads. Next, the follower for Abdullah ibn Yasin was followed by Maliki school. However, the follower of Almohads believe on Tawhid, which means the oneness of God and the uniqueness of God. Next, the Almoravids Fuqaha, who expert in Islamic law, recognized as supervisor in administration of justice and provincial governors. Meanwhile, Muhammad ibn Tumad condemned Almoravids Fuqaha on literal interpretation on Quran. Almoravids Khadi would be the one who controlled the administration of justice, and the administrators worked by military commanders. However, Ibn Tumad by military commanders. However, Ibn Tumad had to Marrakesh after he was ordered to be killed, and Almoravids overtaken by Almohads in 1447. As the conclusion, the continuation of Almoravids dynasty gave so many impacts on today's history, such as huge influence in arts and architecture, the information for trading route and currency, Almoravids literature, role models of great leaders and figures, and even on the culture and the treatment of women during the dynasty. Thank you.